From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Well, happy Monday morning to you. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Monday morning. All right, so here's the deal. We've got a dry and mild conditions here out this week. You know, as I look at the long-range forecast models, unfortunately, I'm just not seeing much in the way of rain. I'm seeing some hints that toward the end of the month, we may see something push through, but really nothing overall as far as major pattern changes, which would indicate cooler temperatures, more rain, and I'm just not seeing anything all that promising at this point. We've got breezy, windy conditions at times here, and again, today is going to be the start of it, but then as we go through the week, I don't think the winds will be quite as strong here over the next couple of days. And as I mentioned, no big changes going well into next week. All right, so let's get you through Krueger's Quickcast. For those of you that are in a hurry and don't want too much detail, just know what to expect today. Here's what you can expect for your Monday, January 13th. Now you're heading out the door this morning, a little on the chilly side. I think temperature is probably some of the low to mid 40s in the valley, but obviously much colder in the mountains. You're talking temperatures in the 20s there. And for the north coast, along the coast there, temperatures in the upper 30s. There's another beach hazard statement that's been issued, unfortunately, here for the coast. This is through Wednesday. You know the drill with these beach hazard statements. It's sneaker waves that are the biggest risk and threat. So that's something you need to pay attention to if you're planning on being on the beaches here over the next couple of days. So we have this ridge of high pressure in place. You can see the clouds moving kind of up and over that ridge. This is what we still call a dirty ridge of high pressure, because typically with high pressure, you've got sunny skies, but we're still seeing some clouds kind of filtering on through, and that'll be the case off and on here really over the next few days, but mainly in the form of some high and maybe even a few mid-level clouds. But there you can see today, a little breezy for the valley. I mean, you're talking 20, 25 miles an hour. So sure, yeah, the winds are picking up. Not a major wind event though. And then of course you can see not as bad for the coast and really anywhere else. Now as we go into tonight, and there you can see about 10 o'clock tonight, still a little breezy, but once again, we're seeing the winds subsiding a bit. So it's not going to be as bad here for tonight, and most likely even for your Tuesday as well. But we'll get into that, your deeper dive forecast here in just a bit. Temperatures today, about 60, give or take for the valley. 30s, mainly 40s for the higher elevations here for today, and for the coast, you're talking temperatures probably somewhere in the mid to upper 50s for your daytime highs. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for the valley. Now, what you'll notice here is we're basically around 60 through the end of the week, and then we're talking mid to upper 50s here for the weekend. So a slight dip in our temperatures over the weekend. Unfortunately, that dip in the temperatures is not going to equate to rainfall or snow in the mountains. Still looking at dry conditions even for the coast, inland, and for Trinity County over the next 7 days. But what you will notice here is there is a dip in those temperatures by the end of the week and this upcoming weekend. That's also the case for places like Mount Shasta, Alturas, Susanville. As you can see, temperatures starting off fairly cool. They go up a little bit here and then back down again. So maybe a little bit of a roller coaster ride with some of those mountain locations. All right, that's a look at Krueger's Quickcast. Let's go into the deeper dive, and I'm going to start with the fires in Southern California. That's the big headline. That's what a lot of people are talking about. So we're looking at the fire tracker. What this is doing is it's taking the satellite and it's detecting heat signatures. When you see reds and oranges, those are heat signatures that's been detected by the satellite image over the last 24 hours or so. We're not seeing any oranges or reds. It's mainly yellows and even some of these gray colors. So a lot of these heat signatures that we're seeing here are coming in from 3, 4, 5 days ago. So we haven't really seen a lot of recent new activity coming in from the fires over the last 24 hours, at least any recent activity that's being detected by the satellite image. And in fact, we're still looking at about close to 30% of the Eaton fire here. As far as containment is concerned, I think it was 27 last check, and the Palisades fire about 13%. Now those numbers may seem small, but you think about how much catastrophe we've seen with these fires, and we all know the drill. We know how it works. It just is a slow progress to get these fires under control. So it's going to take some time, but unfortunately, the weather elements are not really helping out the firefighters a whole lot. We have a red flag warning through Wednesday for all of the areas in red here. This is where the fires are, right? So this is where we're seeing some of the strongest winds with a high wind warning or a wind advisory for many of the areas around Los Angeles. Through Wednesday. So gusty winds still at times over the next few days. And, you know, we talked about this last week, and it's the drought monitor. No drought over Northern California, but this is where we have the drought. This is where we have the drier conditions. And why? Well, we take a look at the rainfall over the last 30 days. We've got quite the deficit, especially in the areas where we're seeing the fires. I mean, when we're seeing these deeper shades of red, that's 2-3 inches below where we should be for this time of the year. Really just for the last 30 days. You'll notice Northern California, though, with all the rain that we've seen, things are looking great. However, you can see that bit of a deficit here off to the east into Lassen and Plumas counties, and that does include even parts of Modoc County as well. But you get the idea. Not as dry as we've seen here, but very dry conditions here down into Southern California. So let's talk about those winds. Today, as you can see here, for Southern California, look at that. You see the reds and the oranges, that's 30, 40 miles per hour. And you'll notice, even though Los Angeles proper is seeing winds dying down, surrounding it, we're still seeing a lot of those reds and oranges in there, and that will continue into your Wednesday as well, unfortunately. So the winds continue to be a factor here for our neighbors down in Southern California. And the fire weather risk takes into account temperature, wind, and humidity. Since the temperatures aren't that high, that's taken out of the equation here. If we had higher temperatures, you bet we'd be looking at a lot of those reds and even into those purple colors here. But because the temperatures aren't that bad, we're still looking at, though, gusty winds and dry conditions. And you can clearly see that kind of lighting up. We see some recovery overnight, but then as we go into the midday hours, again on Wednesday, we see how it lights up again, kind of getting in that moderate to even high range here for many parts, especially around where the fires are. Meanwhile, back at home, you can see today the wind's a little gusty, especially for the valley and even the foothills east of the valley. But really elsewhere, the winds really shouldn't be all that bad. Now, as we take you into tomorrow, there's tomorrow around midday. A little breezy, 10-15 miles per hour, but we are seeing more of a downward trend with our winds here as we go into the next few days, at least for us here in Northern California. All right, so the big picture, yeah, ridge of high pressure right here. We're kind of on the front edge of that, so that's still allowing some of these clouds to kind of filter through. There's also a weak disturbance that's kind of passing through this morning. That's what's allowing us to see some of those winds this morning and even around midday. But as that area of low pressure shifts to the south, which you can see right here, our winds will start to subside. But unfortunately, that's going to continue to create a problem here for Southern California. Now, the ridge of high pressure is still in place. You can see the storm system's riding up and over that ridge. Now, by the end of this week, by this upcoming Friday, we have a little disturbance kind of pushing down to the south and east, a bit of what we call an inside slider. So the winds may pick up again for us here in Northern California by around Friday or Saturday. No guarantees on that, but I am seeing some indications that we could maybe see a little bit of ramp up in those winds. Nothing major, but I do expect maybe the winds to maybe pick up closer to this end of this week and this upcoming weekend. So the precipitation outlook, as you can see here, is in the drier than normal conditions here. And despite the added sunshine that we're going to see, still looking at most likely cooler than normal conditions. So kind of begs the question, with the lack of rain that we've got coming up here, how are we doing with the lakes? Well, the lakes are still in good shape. We're not seeing them rise as much as we did a couple of weeks ago, but still you can see the historical average. We're still at about 126 to 129% of average. So that's great, and the capacity is still looking good for this time of the year as well. So we're looking good when we're talking about water. The lakes are looking good. Our snowpack is still looking pretty good as well. Now, if you're heading out to any of the ski parks, any of the ski resorts, here's a look at Mount Shasta Ski Park. There you can see 59 inches at the summit. 44 of the runs are open at about 100% open. Still looking pretty good out there. You're starting to see a little less snow out at Mount Shasta Ski Park, but we still have plenty of snow up there. Taking a look at the beach hazard statement once again here along the coast here. This is through 3 o'clock Wednesday, as sneaker waves will be the biggest concern. Now we look at the wave heights for today. They're not that big of a deal, not a major issue. We do see them maybe rise a little bit going into your Tuesday, but once again, no major issues there. In fact, there's no advisories to speak of here, at least over the waters. Of course, we still have that beach hazard statement along the coast. Winds today out of the north at about 5 to 10 knots. So nothing really major when we're talking about those winds even along the coast. So here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Your temperatures will be in the low to maybe even some mid-50s for some of the warmer spots. Unfortunately, looking at the next 7 days across the board, not a drop of rain to speak of. 61 degrees for Blue Lake, 61 for Garberville, 63 out in Honeydew today. We take you up north with 58 degrees for Gas Key, 61s for Smith River, 58 degrees out in Orleans, and Willow Creek about 58 as well. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast, a bit chilly out towards Scott Valley with temperatures there in the upper 30s. We're talking upper 30s in the north and east, otherwise in the low to mid 40s elsewhere. Your Modoc County neighborhood forecast. Look for a high of about 35 degrees in Cedarville, 38 degrees for Eagleville, and 41 degrees out in Aden. And for the eastern mountains down to the south, you can see about 53 degrees in Shingletown, 56 in Paradise, 44 in Greenville, and 36 out in Doyle, kind of the many microclimates of the eastern mountains. There you can see, of course, your valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Walgamuth Painting. Your temperature is around 60 for Los Molinos, basically 60 degrees, give or take for the valley. A little bit cooler out towards the city of Shasta Lake at about 59, 57 degrees for a high today in Lakehead, and 56 degrees in Whiskeytown. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for Redding. Temperatures generally staying in the low 60s through Thursday. Now, there will be a slight dip by the end of the week and this weekend, but nothing major. Temperatures dropping down in the mid to upper 50s. That's your morning update. I'll be back again at noon with your latest forecast. Have a great morning.
At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too. Because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.